I have 20 slides of all the reasons why you should not start a podcast. You're not ready. Your audience isn't big enough. You don't know the tech well enough. There's too many moving parts. You don't know how that all comes together. You don't know how to monetize it. You don't know if anyone will actually listen to you. How can I be perfect? But yet we all have these things, right? So figure out, what is your thing? What is your Goliath in this that just feels so big, so impossible that even if it was perfect timing, even if it was God's perfect timing for you to start a podcast, you might still pass it over. Not on our watch. What you're building isn't just a brand, it's the work and story God trusted you to carry. Welcome to Heard in Heaven. I'm Ray Ireland, best-selling author, global speaker, and co-founder of Evolve Podcasting, where our clients have reached over 3 million downloads. This show is where Holy Spirit revelation meets CEO execution. So your message doesn't just inspire, it multiplies. It's time to speak with fire, shake the earth, and be heard in heaven. All right, my friends, we are going to start a new series that is going to be all about the mic is waiting for you. So this is going to be a series around discerning the timing of your voice. So many people ask me this: how will I know when I'm ready to start a podcast? When do I know like it is the time to take action, to take those steps forward? And you know what, as someone who has been in this industry, in this space for a long time, helping many people, I definitely have noticed like there's a good time and sometimes a bad time to take these steps forward in your visibility and putting in this extra momentum and energy and effort. We just did the episode all around being a lily in your industry. So really tuning into that and listening and doing your own due diligence and taking that time and space to be with God. But I want to get into a little bit more of the practical. What is actually the timing that you should be looking out for? And based on guiding many students through this process, what I've seen work or not work. So let's dive in. You might have already been feeling the nudge. You most likely are, because I know that I'm speaking to the woman who feels so ready to go, right? And so I'm walking you one step at a time here. And these episodes are really carefully curated to give you guys the best experience. And I want you to be tuning in every single week. So if you did, hopefully, ideally, you took some time last week and you got to hear what God was wanting to tell you in being quiet and what it means for you to be a lily in your own industry. And now you might be feeling a little bit of a nudge saying like, okay, I'm feeling this nudge. I want to move forward. I want to start taking action. But there might be this whisper inside that says like, I'm still not ready yet. And I get it. Unfortunately, readiness does not equate to totally having God's timing and like God's blessings on your back so you can move forward. Sometimes when God is saying move forward, it might not feel like you're ready, and that's okay. Also, when it comes down to like the perfect timing to start a podcast, I say that specifically because there is no perfect time. There's always going to be so many things happening in life, so many planned things. You might be looking at your calendar and just saying, my calendar is so full. How could I possibly add in another thing? Or you might also be like, okay, I'm going to get started. And then life happens and things come up. This last season, when I was preparing to start this podcast for you guys, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And yet, what happened? I broke my leg. We had to move. There were so many different moving pieces and factors. Don't just take the things, the circumstances that are happening to you. Don't just take them as like, okay, now I need to switch up my timing, or this isn't the right timing. God will confirm with 2 or more witnesses what you are meant to do. And a lot of times that craziness might be even happening in your life, causing delays and stalls. But if you really were to go to your closest friends who really support you, and or your pastors or your mentors, and really truly ask them like, this is what's been on my heart. Like, let's see what God says, right? So if you've been feeling that nudge, it can come down to willingness. Are you willing to, of course, be obedient, but also be obedient and uncomfortable, right? And put yourself out there in this new way. So I definitely get if you're questioning, if you're wondering whether this is the right timing for me or not. So I'm going to break down some of those things that I see work really well, like the things that you can already have in place before starting a podcast. And we're going to expand also in terms of visibility into many different things here because yes, I have a podcast agency and that's what I love helping people do is using their voice and story to create impact and income. But there's also many other platforms that I've built, social media to writing books to live events, all this sort of stuff I'm going to be covering inside of this podcast because I think they're all incredible platforms where you can actually be using your voice to bring glory and honor to God. So, but for right now, let's just dive into the podcast space because this is what people ask me about all the time. This is what people come to me for. So you might feel a little bit stuck between that like spark of desire, right? Or like I like to call it like the fire in your belly that's saying, yes, go for it. Like move forward, do the podcast. It's going to be amazing. And then that fear, like your mind saying, this is impossible. This is ridiculous because of XYZ. And there's no way this is going to be able to happen because of XYZ, right? I know these so clearly that literally in the presentation that I made a few months ago, and I've been presenting this in different groups and masterminds and settings all around how to monetize your podcast and create an unbreakable brand through your storytelling. So I started off my signature talk saying, you are probably thinking, and I have 20 slides of all the reasons why you should not start a podcast. So I'm just going to leave a few here. It might be what's going on in your head is that the timing, you're not ready, your audience isn't big enough, you don't know the tech well enough, there's too many moving parts, you don't know like how that all comes together. You don't know how to monetize it. You don't know if anyone will actually listen to you, right? Okay, I could literally go on and on for about 5 minutes. I'm going to save you guys from that. But you're in good hands here because I've thought about all of these issues way more than you have in the last decade. So hang in there with me. So there's been many points where I've been on the fence about launching something or putting something out there or using my voice to ignite a mission or a business or an offer or a creation. And there's always been this desire, this deep longing desire. And I don't know if it's my type A OCD personality, but there's just such a deep desire for things to be perfect. Do you feel me? And so every time I come up against that type of enemy or attack where I feel like things become actually less perfect than what was even maybe happening before, because that's like the thing that I'm struggling with, that I wrestle with often. So of course, right before I'm about to launch this podcast, I break my leg. Like that's a huge thing, right? And I'm like, oh, it's not perfect. Oh. And so if you can actually dial in, what is that one thing that's for you? For me, it comes down to perfectionism. I'm always striving. I want things to be exemplary of the glory of God. And I like to be that example as much as possible. But like, let's be real. I'm still like a woman, a 33-year-old woman with a 2.5-year-old and new marriage. And I'm still totally trying to figure things out. So how can I be perfect? But yet we all have these things, right? So figure out what is your thing? What is your Goliath in this that just feels so big, so impossible that even if it was perfect timing, even if it was God's perfect timing for you to start a podcast, you might still pass it over. I want you to look at that and highlight that because once you know that, then you can become aware, right? And it's like, okay, is it that thing coming up again? Is it that thing in different clothing that is trying to derail me? Because honestly, that's just the little liar, right? That's just trying to move you off your path, derail you. And I'll be here with you saying, no, not here, not on our watch, right? So other things that you should be aware of, though, when you're about to start a podcast is that it is a commitment, right? I think so often there's that shiny object syndrome. That's what we call it in business, right? Where we say, oh, like I really want to do XYZ. I want to have my book. I want to have my podcast. I want to speak. I want to do all this stuff. And yet it can actually be a distraction from your business, right? So this is super important to just keep in mind that I don't want you guys starting a bunch of different podcasts and doing 2 episodes. Do you know how many? I believe it's around 40% of podcasts that are out there right now have less than 4 episodes. That is insane to me. I'm like, do people not understand the power of podcasting and like, but also why you do it? You do it to create relational trust and connection with people and to share your expertise. And it's a big impact move, but it also can be a really great move for your business. But I'll tell you what's not a good move is starting something and then not following through on it, right? So doing a podcast, just having a few episodes, I mean, it's like, just do that on social media, right? There's other places you can do this. And having a podcast is a place where people can come to regularly for that consistent support and engagement. Now, I get it. Life happens. I'm not going to be a drill sergeant around here saying, okay, if you start, you can't ever miss a week or you can't ever take some time off from it. You absolutely can. But if you're just getting started, I don't want you to start planning your breaks from it. I actually want you to feel just so excited, so on fire that you're excited about putting it into your calendar on a consistent basis. Now, inside of our work in Evolve Podcasting, in our podcast accelerator, these are the types of things that we actually break down and like get really strategic about. So that way you're only spending like a half day a month working on your podcast. But even if you get to that point strategically with how you're planning and you got your systems in place, even if you get there, the best podcast hosts are the ones that are it. They don't just put on a hat or put on a costume and say, okay, I'm going to like be a podcast host for this one day out of the month. No, they are that host walking through their lives and running their businesses and doing their things and taking note and remembering the stories that they want to be sharing on their podcasts and just seeing the world and seeing their life experience through those eyes of someone who is going to be sharing it, passing that knowledge and wisdom and stories forward. So it's a commitment. It's like saying, okay, you want to get married? Then all you need to do is have one date on the calendar once a year for your anniversary and you'll be good. No, it's a whole identity shift. So I do invite you to ask yourself that question. Are you ready to embody that new identity of being a podcast host? Now I'm going to give you some warnings. When you do this, it might totally expand your identity. It might totally shift the things that you're doing and focusing on. We had one client, Debbie, who came to us and she had an established business and she was ready to get her podcast to the next level. And so we did a VIP day with her, a full like deep dive day. It was so cool. But the whole first half of the day was super tactical and strategic. And we mapped everything out. It was great, but we all knew that there was like a little something missing. Like we didn't feel that the earth-shaking quality that I love. I want to go after that earth-shaking, teary-eyed, heart explosion moment where you're just like, oh my gosh, it's so God in this, right? That's what I'm always searching for myself and with my clients. So we hadn't gotten there yet. And her whole show was about betrayal and intimate relationships. And we started talking and digging deeper and digging deeper. And as she put on this hat and this identity of being a podcast host, something started to shift and we started asking her the identity questions. So way less about the tactical and the strategic, which again, I always will share that stuff with you guys. But the stuff that the reason why people pay us thousands of dollars is because we're actually really good at this, is diving into the identity shift that needs to happen. And when you do, when you open yourself to that possible new identity that God is actually calling you forward into, you might start to see things differently. So in a few hours, so we did a few hours of doing the strategic stuff. Once we just made that slight little pivot and we started really talking to her and going deeper around this new identity that she was going to be embodying in her podcast, all of a sudden this aha moment came off. She's like, I really want it to be something bigger. That something bigger ended up turning into a national forgiveness holiday. And the idea came and it was like, oh my gosh, let's in betrayal, the thing that people are just seeking is forgiveness. And if we can just talk more about forgiveness and if it could just be something like a national holiday. And then it was silent. And we're like, well, it could, right? A few weeks later, National Forgiveness Day. How cool is that? This is the type of mind-opening, soul-expanding opportunity that's here when you are a podcast host, but it comes with a warning sign. It comes with, hey, things are going to be different. Things are going to shift and change, and you might not like it. It might be actually really uncomfortable because new levels of visibility, new levels of leadership often tend to come hand in hand with being uncomfortable. So just a little warning there. Some other things that I want to just mention around that question mark of is it a good timing or not is also like what practice have you been in already where you're in leadership consistently? Again, it comes back to this piece of consistency because this is one of the things that I really see fall through the cracks of those who get stuck with this and also don't progress and don't keep having the momentum or the encouragement or that inspiration. And at another episode, we'll talk about what to do when inspiration doesn't hit and you're committed. You're committed to that consistency. So make sure to tune into that episode coming up. But for now, it is about that consistency and it's about claiming it and doing it and staying inspired, staying connected to God. So you want to ask yourself, like, what else have I been consistent with? Podcasting is amazing for people that have great businesses because they've already been consistent enough to get that reciprocal of consistency in their income. This is a great marker point. Once you find consistency in yourself, usually you will start to see consistency in your income come in because what you're pouring out is coming back, right? It's really an incredible practice. And so if you are already starting to feel that consistency in your business, this is actually the perfect timing to step out into new unknown territory and become a little bit more visible, a little bit more vulnerable, and share more from a storytelling and leadership perspective. So there's definitely this piece around like, okay, well, if I don't have everything in place, like, then I'm not going to be ready, right? Remember, we're not going for perfect. We're just going for some little signs that I've seen work really well. There's also, if you are waiting for too much consistency, if you like kind of take everything I'm saying and really expanding, you're like, okay, it has to hit my highest months consistently every month. Well, you know what? Are you striving for something that's a carrot in front of your face? Probably, because that's what entrepreneurs do, right? We have our highest months and we're like, well, but I want to have a higher month of income, right? Or like, I want to impact more people's lives. And that's a great quality. So do not let that feeling of not being ready enough or not being there enough stop your momentum or stop the God nudges to get your podcast going. I feel like sometimes fear can be sort of disguised as like this wisdom, right? Like I'm being very wise. I'm being the lily in my industry. And now I'm going to make fun of my previous episode, right? But you don't want to be that person that's like, I am the lily in my industry. I'm just going to sit here until I grow. No, like I'll pull up all the other Bible verses that talk about walking and taking action and all of that sort of stuff. So don't let that fear get disguised as wisdom and taking that in, right? So I want to say something about that too, because there's also this idea that kingdom work, and I actually mentioned this earlier, that it needs to be at this high standard for like, we need to represent God in all that we do and bring heaven here on earth. Yes, and we needed Jesus, right? Yes, and we are totally imperfect. Like, who is going to pick up that first stone and throw it? Like, no one. We all have our sins. So again, make sure that you're not letting those types of things stop you. Now, I will say one other thing. If you know, like, this is good timing and you should move forward. Sometimes people come to me and they're like, I think I need to do a podcast. And I can tell that they're so in their minds because they're not really like the storytelling type. You know what I mean? And I sit there, I'm like, that's interesting. So just something to note, like if you don't really, truly deep down enjoy telling stories, maybe not the best thing for you to be doing, right? And on the vice versa, if you love telling stories, know that you're also going to get so much out of pouring into a podcast because it's going to actually fulfill you so much. If you are a verbal processor and you're questioning your timing, I would say, hey, this actually might be coming to you for a bigger reason than you even making an impact or expanding the kingdom or like growing your business, right? It might actually be so quietly, so subtly, a gift from God for you to just have this quiet time to speak with yourself. I know that sounds crazy. It totally does. It's like, yeah, go speak to a wall. But there's just something unique that happens when we, again, put on that identity of being a podcast host and we start just living in it. And that's what happens. That's just some of this like really beautiful quality that happens, this like blessing that comes in on podcast hosts. I've seen it. And there's revelations that you're going to receive while doing your podcast. You don't have to have all the answers. Okay, so keeping in mind like the readiness piece, the timing piece, let's let's get into the technology. Okay, how do I know that it's right time for me to buy all this technology? Well, guess what? You don't. You don't need to buy all the fancy technology. Build it as you grow, right? Start with just your phone. Start with a computer. Okay, you want to buy something? I'll give you a little hint. Buy good lighting. Get into good lighting first before you buy a fancy camera. Okay? So there's little tactical things like that you can do, but I know so many people say, okay, I can't do a podcast right now because I have to invest so heavily into it. This is one of the coolest parts about podcasting. It actually is open to so many people. Like, wow, what a kingdom platform, right? Where you don't have to have the millions of dollars to be able to do this. Like, it is literally about you just starting. So if that is one of your reasons or your excuses for not getting started, please put that to the side. And you can absolutely grow with your podcast. The first podcast I was doing was purely on my phone. There have been, I can't even tell you how many times I've recorded podcasts in a closet. You might be wondering why. Okay, let me explain that. In the closet, there's really good sound. It sounds really good because all the clothes, it really like helps the vibrations and the sound. So it ends up sounding better than if you're in a big room. Okay, like nerdy little side fact. But like literally, if you want, take your phone, go into a closet, sit down and record your podcast. Like that's as easy as it can get, right? And then as you grow, as you expand, as you see like how God is moving in your life and what he's doing with your influence and your leadership, you might want to upgrade, right? So cool little pieces there. Those are usually the main things of why people don't want to start their podcasts, why they get concerned with the timing of it and all the moving pieces. And just know that there are also a lot of people out there. I mean, we are here, of course, me as the co-founder of Evolve Podcasting. If you haven't gone and checked out Evolve Podcasting, go do that. We have so many free resources there to support you on the podcast journey. But for now, I just want you to know your mic is waiting for you. Like as Ray, your sister, your mentor, your podcast guide, whatever you want to call me, your podcast bestie, right? I'm here just rooting you on. You do not need much else, right? So as long as you can find that oomph, become your own cheerleader, get your cheerleaders around you and just get started. I mean, I just know that there's going to be so many blessings on the other side of it. So don't forget, if you're feeling like you need a little bit of support or guidance on your messaging and this whole thing around like, well, what do I say when I grab my mic? Make sure you grab the freebie down below in the show notes, the mic moment. This is a freebie that's going to help you so much. I've been sharing it these last few episodes because it is going to be the game changer for some of you. I know that there's little steps and they might look like little blockages at this point, but it's just a little thing that you need to step over. So I want to provide you guys with that. So check that out down below, and I will see you in the next episode. Your voice carries weight, not just for today, but for eternity. If this episode stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, speak it, let it ripple. If you're ready to launch a platform that amplifies your message and multiplies your impact, I'm here to help. Start your journey with the link in the show notes down below. Subscribe, leave a review, and remember, when you speak with fire, you don't just shake the earth, you echo in heaven.